We didn't talk about the election. That is going to become a focus point for traders, I think, soon. What should we be looking for as traders and investors coming out of this election? Does it even matter who wins?
Yeah, I think it's a good question. And one that I think there's a lot of, I describe sort of as lazy thinking out there. It's like, one candidate wants to stimulate the economy and run big deficits. The other one wants to stimulate the economy and run big deficits. I'm not sure if you talk to people who understand the prospective policy differences. In one case, we see the policies in the day to day. In another case, the policies are being drafted. I think there could easily be a more meaningful divergence in policy that matters. For instance, thinking about how certain behaviors might affect interest rates. Right. In one case, we might be talking about on the continuation of the existing administration, you'd probably have continued relatively large fiscal deficits that would continue to put pressure on long-term bond yields as the government continues to issue bonds. On the other side, with a new administration that's more focused on interest rates, maybe with a history of feeling the pain of high interest rates in various business activities, keeping interest rates contained may be more of a focus. And so you might have pressure on the Federal Reserve to keep interest rates lower. You might actually have less desire to engage in significant borrowing activities. And so those two things could be very different from each other. And so I wouldn't just say, hey, look, this is going to be, two sides of the same coin. I would be hesitant. And really what we have to do is roll up our sleeves. Like, we're getting incremental information about the different policy choices that are going on between the two. And policy, like I'm talking like real policy, like actual implementable policy. It's not like vague, statements that are said in some speeches. There's like people who are experts, who are technocrats, who are granularly figuring out these policies, and they're going to talk about their policies. And so you have to go through that process of understanding them. I think probably the biggest thing for the everyday investor is, like, right now it's a coin toss. Various models and stuff that have reasonable senses of what the range of outcomes are. Right now it's a coin toss, and so you got to also be careful as an investor, like, unless you have a real edge in figuring out who's going to win the election, you're much better off making sure that you're well diversified and protected around that point, rather than trying to bet in one direction or another, because there's a lot we don't know about what the policies are, and certainly who's going to win. Basically, nobody knows.
Yeah, I mean, nobody knows. And we all know that anything can happen between now and then.